Hi, I'm Margaret and welcome to Garden School. The nights are getting kind of cold now here, middle October, and I wouldn't be too surprised if I saw frost on the ground in the next couple weeks. In fact, I think there was frost on my neighbor's roof this morning. Well, when it gets that cold at night, it's doing something to a lot of our annuals, or the things we treat as annuals, or our baskets that we enjoyed for all summer long and were great. And one of those things is a fuchsia basket. Now, mine here has done a real nice job, but there aren't very many flowers on it anymore, no new buds. And today we're gonna just trim it back and prepare it for storage for the winter. This basket was given to me as a Mother's Day gift, and I would guess that there's probably 5 or so starts that were placed in this basket when it was planted. We're gonna find out as we trim it back. So the first thing we're gonna do is I'm just gonna take my clippers and I'm gonna cut branches back to about to the edge of the container. Maybe to extend just a little bit over the edge. That way it's going to be a little bit easier to store. I'm going to be storing it in the garage during the winter time. I've cut some off here, and you can see right here I've got a nice, really thick stem coming off there. I'm going to take it off right here. I could take it back a little bit further, but I'm going to take it right there. And if there's any flowers on the end, happens to be some blooms, a little up on this one, I'll just put that in the vase in the house. That's fine. So I'm going to just continue going around the pot. Now that I look at this one, I might just take it right here. It'll bring it a little bit closer into the edge of the pot. It's really small and thin branches I'm just going to take off altogether. Okay, that's not going to do a lot of good. Cutting this whole back right about to, I think I might take it to right here to this one. So a couple of things I've discovered here. This one was called Blue Angel. It was a really pretty fuchsia. And also, if you're seeing anything like this, this is a berry, a seed pod from the fuchsia. We don't want that to stay on there. And in fact, when the fuchsia is blooming, a few months ago, if I would see these berries being produced after the flower drops off, I would take them off. So because I don't want the plant to use its energy for seed production. We don't need that. Well, anyway, we don't need it now either. So also on the leaves, these leaves are going to drop. You could take them off now. It kind of depends on how much you actually want to clean up. I see some more seed pods over there I'll take off. And then about the height, I'm going to really take it down pretty low, just so that I can kind of really see what's going on inside this container. It really looks different, doesn't it? But you can see there were, it looks like 4 starts that were done in this basket, and it filled out so much. One thing I am going to do still is I'm going to take off any little tiny branches that are not going to, they're just too thin. We don't need that. The plant doesn't need that. And then if anything was like crossing over, tight to another branch, I'm going to take that off too. Well, I think I've contained this, or it's pretty close to the size of the container. That's going to be good. And I took off the leaves because I don't necessarily want to have to clean this up after I store it in the garage. You can see here how much the soil, the potting medium, has just sunk down in the middle during the season. We might be tempted to repot these now and to give it some good potting mix. I will advise against that. It's probably going to be better to let this store. It will go into dormancy. Just water it know, maybe infrequently. I would check it maybe once a month, something like that. You may see a little bit of starts of growth on it. That's okay. Then in the spring, that's when I'm going to take these starts out and replenish the soil. When you're thinking about a plant blooming so profusely from a basket, a small amount of soil, even if you're feeding it regularly, the soil is going to become quite depleted. So I will replace that soil in the spring. So I've got my basket of sticks here. That's what it looks like. I'm going to be putting this in the garage. It does not need to have light. So a dark, cool space where it will be dry. So just water it maybe once a month. And it does not need light. 40 to 50 degrees is a good temperature for overwintering. You don't want it to be warmer. It might encourage the growth, and we're not ready for this to start to grow yet. Now, as we get toward spring, when I start to see some new growth on this, that's when I'm going to lift up these starts, replace the soil with some planting medium, some potting soil that has that perlite in it. It'll be good for drainage, but also help with the moisture retention as well. And then I'll replant these and feed them. And then, this is the hard part, as they start to grow, I'm going to need to pinch back those little branches, those little green sprouts, so that it will get fuller and stronger. That's going to be the hard part for me. Now, I will have to say, I have not been successful in doing this the way I deem success in the past. But you know, this is a new year. It could happen. And if it doesn't work, well, you know, there's nothing lost for the trying, right? So I'm going to try that. You might want to try it too. Now, this is a basket fuchsia, which we consider not hardy. It will, when frost comes, it's going to be, it will look decimated if you keep it outdoors. That's why we're going to overwinter. I want to show you a hardy fuchsia, though, that doesn't need to be prepped for winter. Now, this is a hardy fuchsia. You can see that the flowers, you know, they have that, the sepals on the outside, you know, then the flower, the petals inside, and the stamens hanging down. Really cool. Typical fuchsia style. But this is a hardy fuchsia. There are many kinds of hardy fuchsia. And it's really nice because here in mid-October, this thing is in full bloom. The hummingbirds love it, and I can leave it up. I don't have to worry about frost. It is going to continue to provide nectar to the hummingbirds. I'm happy about that. Now, as we get into some, you know, windier, stormier weather, I may, you know, shape this back a little bit so we don't get branches whipping around in the wind. We'll have to see about that. So that's a hardy fuchsia. Well, I've got my little bouquet, my remnants from my trimmings, and I'm going to take my basket here and place it in the garage where it can overwinter. Well, I hope if you have a fuchsia basket and you would like to try to keep it over winter and start it again in the spring, go for it. I want to encourage you to try and do that with me. Well, there's always more to learn in the garden. Bye-bye.